What's up everybody, Jesse and Daniel here, once again with our quick news roundup. This time we have Xenoblade Chronicles 2, an interview with Nintendo's Yoshiaki Koizumi, I believe. Is that how you pronounce his name?
Yoshiaki Koizumi.
Yes. And then an awesome first 4 figures announcement. So our first news that we'll be getting into, Xenoblade Chronicle 2 sees strongest series debut in UK. Sales 1/3 higher compared to X. Xenoblade X was on the Nintendo Wii U, for those who aren't familiar, and the original was on the Nintendo Wii, and I think it was ported to the 3DS as well.
Yes.
So this comes from game industry, where they say there was only one new game of note in the charts, and that debuts all the way down at number 19. Xenoblade Chronicles 2, the Nintendo Switch exclusive, received very strong reviews, but it's certainly a far more hardcore title than The Legend of Zelda. Nevertheless, despite its low chart appearance, the sales were decent. Game sales in December are obviously higher across the board generally, and it has charted 9 places higher than its predecessor, Xenoblade Chronicles X.
Not too surprising considering Xenoblade Chronicles X was on the Wii U.
Yes.
It has a far smaller demographic than the Switch.
Yes. And then Go Nintendo goes on to say, Christopher Dring, the writer of the original article, adds this on Twitter. He says, replying to a fan, saying Xenoblade Chronicles X outperformed the first title on Wii by 73%. Chris, do you have the percentage increase of Xenoblade Chronicles 2 over Xenoblade Chronicles X? Going by placements, it must have easily outperformed even if sales figures aren't too high. And then Christopher replies, to 2 sales are up by about 1/3 over X, so yes, a stronger launch for certain. This is very good news because it means for each new title launched in this series, it has sold better and better. So it's not like the first one sold on average and then the second one sold poorly and then the third one sold well. It's Xenoblade sold well, Xenoblade Chronicles X sold even better, Xenoblade Chronicles 2 sold even better. So for fans of the series, this is very great news that the team isn't just going to drop whatever game like Xenoblade Chronicles and then work on a completely different IP. Because with it selling better and better, that's just more inspiration for them to continue the series with Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Or even if they do like a Xenoblade Chronicles X 2.
Yes, please come up with a better naming scheme than that, though.
Yeah, that's like that takes me to like Megaman X, and then Final Fantasy X, where it's like there's Final Fantasy X, Final Fantasy X-2, and then like the 2 uses a number while the X uses the Roman numerals. So then it's like X2, but then you have like Mega Man X1 and Mega Man X2, and now there's Xenoblade Chronicles X. Is it going to be like Xenoblade Chronicles 2? Or it would be interesting if they took it another way and went like Xenoblade Chronicles X, Xenoblade Chronicles Alpha, Xenoblade Chronicles Omega, and just used like, you know, different things other than numbers and just left the main series name 2, 1, 2, 3.
That makes more sense.
Yeah. Like I don't know.
Although
if they
I feel like they're not direct sequels. They're like not, the story isn't directly connected to each other. So like you don't have to limit yourself to saying like Xenoblade 1, Xenoblade 2. Like you could totally just name them whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And because there's no story order that you're missing out on for these games. So
yeah. And the great news on top of all this is for fans of Xenoblade, it may take even less time than Xenoblade Chronicles 2 took to come out. Because, well, actually this could go different ways. Xenoblade Chronicles 2 uses the same engine from the Wii U game. So if they continue using the same engine, then the game mechanically and visually isn't going to look much better, because Xenoblade Chronicles 2 pushes that engine with the Switch as far as it can, because it was designed specifically for the Wii U. So graphically it can't necessarily get that much better looking, but if they do use the engine, since they already know like the ins and outs of it, they're already experts at it, the next Xenoblade game could only take like a year or two to possibly come out, depending on how long they actually want to work on it, because between Xenoblade Chronicles X and Xenoblade Chronicles 2, a lot of the team was helping with Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, and I think there was only 2 years between those two. I'm pretty sure X came out in 2015.
Yeah, so potentially Xenoblade Chronicles 2 could have theoretically came out like 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Like it could have been a launch title for the Switch, if not for the team working on Breath of the Wild. So unless they help again with the next Zelda game, I expect like maybe 2019 we could see, like early 2019 we could see a game, like January, February or something, because if it took 2 years to come out with Xenoblade Chronicles 2 with a large portion of the team not even working on the game for the entire time, then if the entire team is working on the game, then it would take even less time to come out with the next one. And now they're even more familiar with the Nintendo Switch hardware, because they did move from the Wii U to the Nintendo Switch, so they had to take the time to get used to the hardware, to where now they're already used to it. So if they're using the same engine, they could come out with another Xenoblade game really fast. But if they do want to take the time and create a brand new engine, then it would take a lot longer. But that's really all I feel like.
Only half related. I would think that it would be really cool if they ported Xenoblade Chronicles X to Switch, and one of the reasons is that because I kind of want to play it, and I did not buy the Switch or the Wii U version for one reason, and that is that the Wii U can't run the game. It can't run it. You need to download really big patches, like to run the game on the Wii U. And there's like several different packs. The more of them you buy, the better the game will run. But if you don't buy those, the game won't run on the Wii U. Like the Wii U just can't handle that much. And like this is, again, you know, I feel like I'm gonna offend somebody. I want you all to know I love my Wii U so much. It's a great piece of hardware, and I've adored my years with it. But it couldn't handle a game that size, and that's why I never bought Xenoblade Chronicles X, and why I got the Switch version of Breath of the Wild, because the Switch can handle that and the Wii U couldn't. I was watching a game. The Digital Foundry had an analysis of like all of the tech stuff going on, and there is a lot of times on the Switch version, and this is why I made a big deal about, like, instead of using the engine they developed for the Wii U, they need to create Xenoblade Chronicles 3 with an engine that's designed specifically for the Nintendo Switch, because the game, even on the Nintendo Switch, like, it runs good but not great. Like, there is a lot of places to where, like, if you are out in a field and then you go to a town, the game will still keep track of what's going on in the field. So like if you're in a town, it'll be running at like a constant 30 frames per second. And then you go out into a field, and then it'll drop to like 28, 27 frames, which isn't a big deal. But then you go back to the town, and then it'll drop down to like 15 to 20 frames at time, and you'll see it chug along, because for some reason it tries to keep track of all of the different areas that you've been to
at the same time. So
Okay.
instead of like because I guess like instead of having to like have load times, it just keeps everything that it can in memory. But by doing this, you have less memory to actually process what's going on, because while you're in this, like you're in a robust town, but then like 10 minutes away in a field, it's still trying to figure out like, oh, the wind's blowing and the grass is doing this or whatever. So
I feel like I would rather just wait 20 seconds on a loading screen than have to deal with dropping frames.
Yeah, but it's specifically like when you're like when you go from like a big open world area to a small town, it kind of like chugs along a bit, but it's still a really great game to play. I've liked it. My little brother's liked it, but he like there's a lot of reading that you have to do in the game, and he has a lot of trouble trying to figure out everything. So he enjoys it, but he's not necessarily at the age range to play it. But it is a really good game. It has a great art style. It looks almost exactly like an anime, so that's really cool for the people who are anime fans.
Right on.
Yeah, but I guess that brings us to the end of this. You know what we did? This was supposed to be a short news story.
Yes, we got off topic.
All right, tell us.
On to the next one.
Yes.
So, for those of you guys who like first four figures, there's good news. First Four makes those figurines that are really cool that I always gawk at but never buy, but they look really awesome.
Because First Deed is like $600.
Yeah, they're so expensive, but they are working on. This article comes from Go Nintendo as well. First Four Figures is working on Conker and Banjo-Kazooie figurines. So for those of us who have that huge soft spot, which is now a giant empty void of love for the N64 days of Rare, those are happening. But it kind of sucks because my love for Rare died in 2000. And if I give First Four my money, that money also goes to Microsoft, who bought Rare. And this is coming out really bitter. Anyways, there's a short little clip on YouTube that shows that's like sort of an announcement trailer. It doesn't show the figurines at all, but it just is a little announcement. Banjo-Kazooie and Conker are coming to the First Four family. So I still think that's really cool, especially because I really love those characters. So yeah, I probably won't buy it. They're expensive, man.
Yeah. There hasn't really been a highly detailed Banjo-Kazooie or Conker's Bad Fur Day statues, because like especially with Conker, it's kind of a rare niche game.
Super niche.
And then with Banjo-Kazooie, it's a bit more famous. There was the games on Xbox 360, Nintendo 64, even Game Boy Advance, I believe. So
yeah,
like, you know, that series has a lot of fans, but Conker has a lot of fans as well, but very niche audience. So there hasn't been a lot of love to the series in terms of like figures, toys, statues, and stuff that you can buy. But First Four Figures apparently has their partnership now with Microsoft and Rare. We've seen a ton of Zelda stuff, like everything from like Link on Epona, Link on a Loft Wing, Ganon from the several different games, Ganondorf from several different games, every single version of Link that you can think of, different versions of Zelda. There's been a lot of love to Zelda.
Yeah.
Even awesome Dark Link, Fierce Deity Link statues, but this is the first highly detailed Banjo-Kazooie and Conker's Bad Fur Day. So it makes me wonder if these are in anticipation or to kind of build hype for a potential new Banjo-Kazooie on Xbox One, or if it's just a thing where they're like, hey, we want to do this, and then Microsoft just agreed. I don't know. But do you have any final words on the statues?
No, I think we're good to move on.
All right. So our final piece of news in the roundup. Nintendo's Yoshiaki Koizumi, which I apologize if I mispronounced that, talks Switch success, demographic, indie devs, and more. This news comes from Go Nintendo, and they say the following tidbits come from a 4Gamer interview with Nintendo's Yoshiaki. So the bullet points from this, instead of reading the full interview, the quick bullet points are: Switch sales have progressed faster than he thought they would. So Switch is selling better than Nintendo first imagined. Koizumi assumed it would take about 1 or 2 years for the concept to permeate. Believes the Switch concept can be summed up with the words anytime, anywhere, with anyone. He says the majority of people in Japan purchased Switch in their teens to their 20s. The generation of those aged between 15 and 25 had been a difficult spot for Nintendo, but Switch was able to ignite interest. Koizumi notes Nintendo hasn't particularly planned something special for that demographic. Koizumi believes it's weird they keep going from his name to he. Like they go from noun to pronoun a lot.
Yeah.
So, anyways, he notes Nintendo hasn't particularly planned so. I already read that one. He believes this generation is the most optimal one to play outside with someone else. This type of generation had grown accustomed to mobile games, so devs had to make Switch as accessible as a mobile phone. The concept of sharing a Joy-Con with someone else is another point Nintendo wants to focus on. This idea was showcased effectively in snipper clips. Not the game I would, kind of bring in, but it was the only game at launch that really had, that take on the go play. The game's digital success was enough to push Nintendo to release a physical option for snipper clips. Nintendo has been actively... They also have the new DLC as well. Play Together or something like that. Cut it out together.
Cut it out together, yeah.
Nintendo has been actively contacting developers of indie games that fit well with Switch. Most notably reaching out to people asking for mature lewd games, as we found out from the podcast a few weeks ago. Which is still odd for Nintendo to do. Nintendo wants to have a good variety of games available on their platform. Koizumi believes that home consoles are actually competing with vacations. So that's interesting. He thinks some people might consider going on vacation or instead staying home and playing their console. I don't know about that. I have a friend who lives in Sweden, and she just recently went to Thailand.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
If you can do both.
Yeah,
if you can take it with you on vacation, that's what I would do.
The Switch is $300. A vacation, I would say, if you're going to another country, typically in the thousands. Especially if it's a family trip. You're paying for the airplanes, you're paying for all of the food you're going to buy, the hotel and everything. So
yeah,
you're going to be paying $2,000-$3,000 maybe, unless you can get one cheaper. But so if you're paying $3,000, let's say, for a family trip, I don't know how much a $300 console would get in the way of that.
I don't know.
I
guess it's just if you're you have 2 weeks of vacation time at work and you're like, okay, I'm gonna take my 2 weeks vacation time. Do I want to go to Mexico or do I want to just stay home and play Zelda? I don't know. It's just they're not really I don't see them competing with each other.
This reminds me. I don't know if you watched it, but the live reaction that we did for the Game Awards, we had RMFH, Andy from McIntyre Productions, Lexi, who runs the Chamber of Sages server and everything, and who was it? Holly Wolf joined as well. And after they announced the DLC for Breath of the Wild, everybody was excited, but then they said available tonight. So we were talking about vacations. Holly was in a vacation of sorts or whatever. She was like working in the Bahamas,
Right.
I think. So she didn't have her Switch with her to download the DLC.
Why wouldn't you bring it with you?
I know, that's the thing. Is like she like the DLC
I
finally
would bring it with me.
it finally gets announced, and then she's like thousands of miles away, and then what was it, Lexi? She had let one of her friends borrow her Switch, so she just immediately started texting, be like, hey, I need my Switch, you need to bring it back, I need it back. Zelda's
That
here.
would be me too. That would be me. I need it back now.
Yeah.
Tonight.
Like,
I don't care if you're working, I need it tonight.
connect it to your mobile hotspot and let it download on your way to bring it here. No, but there was a little bit of freak out too with RMFH and I, because they said available tonight, and then like he's in California, I'm in Tennessee, so kind of like with you, there's the 3-hour difference. He kept on trying to download it, it wouldn't download. I kept trying, it wouldn't download, and then finally at like midnight here, it finally began to download. So Nintendo was very, instead of saying it's available tonight and being vague about it, he should have said it's available in 3 hours or at this time.
Yeah.
Because
like as soon as I saw that available tonight, I was like, okay, I'm popping in that cartridge. Like I was trying to figure out when, and I ended up asking on Discord, I was like, does anyone have it yet? Like, is it working? And they're like, it's gonna be at 9 p.m. Pacific time.
No,
and I was like, dude, I work in the morning.
the crazy thing about it was, like, it began downloading for Rick, RMFH, for those listening, about 15 minutes before I was able to download it. So I don't know if it went live on servers on the West Coast first, but it took me like 15 minutes before I was able to download it, and I just just kept on tapping, like refreshing to get it to download. And finally, I turned my Switch off, turned it back on, and then I was able to download it. But I assume it was just where like millions of people were trying to download it at the same time for not just the Switch but the Wii U.
Yeah, that's probably it.
Yeah, but anyways, I don't know why he thinks people would choose staying home playing video games over going on vacation. Like Nintendo, that's why you made the 3DS. That's why you made the Switch, so they can take it with you.
Although maybe that was his point, was that then like he doesn't have to compete with people's vacations, apparently.
Actually, coming up next, it says the Switch lets you do both.
Great.
So he's hoping.
So did the 3DS.
People take.
I don't know.
Yeah. So he's hoping people take advantage of the platform's portability, unless you leave it at home or let your friends borrow it, like Lexi and Holly. He hopes Nintendo's mobile efforts will help them reach people worldwide. He says smartphones will never cease to be used, so it's important for Nintendo to get along with them, and then get along is in quotes. So a lot of interesting stuff there. I'm still kind of mind-boggled about someone canceling their vacation.
Yeah.
Their family like I could imagine like a typical family. Like you're a husband, you have your wife, your kid, 2 kids, 3 kids, and your vacation's coming up for work. You get a week or 2 off, and then your wife is just like, so where are we going for our vacation? Like, I want to go to the Bahamas, I want to go to Las Vegas, wherever. And the husband's like, no, I was thinking we could stay home and play the Wii U.
Yeah.
That would be the beginning of the divorce, I believe.
Pretty much.
Anyways, we have come to my favorite time of the podcast, the mailbag.
Yes.
All right. Do you want to do the introduction for the mailbag?
Sure, man.
Introduce what it is, the Patreon, everything.
I'll let you do the Patreon. Yo, you could just do it.
Alright.
It's okay.
Alright. What's up, everybody? I'm Jesse, or GameOverJesse, as some of you all know. Well, that's... I keep getting tongue-tied. Today's a bad day. We had a few good ones to where, like, didn't mess up too much, but today's just been horrible. Alright. What's up, everybody? Jesse here. I wanted to give a quick shout out to the sponsor of this podcast, T-Blocks. You may ask, what is T-Blocks? Well, T-Blocks is a unique t-shirt subscription service where you choose between an awesome licensed shirt or artist designed shirt delivered to your door every month. Prices start at just below $9, with a 12-month prepaid price that goes down to below $7 a month. Licensed shirts include designs from Disney, Marvel, DC, HBO, Game of Thrones, Breaking Bad, Naruto, Star Wars, and many more. My first shirt was an awesome, officially licensed Zelda shirt, which, as you all know, we focus on Zelda a lot on this channel. So if this is something you would be interested in, please subscribe to T-Blocks with the promo code JesseTBX for 10% off your entire order. Details and links to everything can be found in the description below. And with all of that out of the way, let's get started.